Hi, and welcome to the first part in the Operation Alpha Making Sense of Nutrition series. In this video, I will explain how to work out your calorie and macronutrient requirements, sometimes referred to as macros, these being protein, carbs, and fats. I'll also explain why this is important and how shifting to eating in a way that supports your goals is an ever-evolving, long-term process. The first thing to realize is that whatever your training goal, be it weight loss or more specifically fat loss, muscle gain, or even increased athletic performance, nutrition-wise, the most crucial thing is eating an appropriate amount of calories. Now, assuming your goal is fat loss, and for the vast majority of people this is the case, this means that you need to be in a calorie deficit. That is, over days, weeks, and months, you consume fewer calories than your body burns. The next most important factor is getting your protein consumption on point. This is for a few reasons. It helps you to recover from exercise. It's the most filling of macronutrients, so it helps to manage hunger and therefore reduce the risk of overeating. And also it is essential to ensuring that as much of your weight loss as possible comes from body fat and not muscle tissue. Now, I'll attach some links to posts that I've written on how to calculate your calories and macros, but the basic starting point for protein is to eat 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 90 kg, you would obviously aim to eat 180 grams of protein per day. Now, if you find that hard to start with, don't worry, you can build up to it. As mentioned, this is an evolving process, not an overnight one, and ultimately at this stage, we are just establishing starting points to work from. Next up, we would calculate your fat requirements, and this is very simple too. We would start with 1 gram of fats per kilogram of body weight. So obviously if you weigh 90 kg, you would eat 90 grams. Now, fat is a very important macronutrient. We need it to absorb certain vitamins and minerals and for optimal hormone function. However, it is very calorific, 9 calories per gram compared to just 4 per gram of both protein and carbs. It's also very easy to overeat. Oils, butter, and the fat within meat doesn't take up much space and is liquidy. Indeed, even a small handful of nuts or seeds contains an enormous amount of calories, so you don't notice it as much as, say, eating a load of broccoli or anything else that requires a lot of chewing and takes up space on your plate. For this reason, it's really important to be aware and keep tabs on your fat intake, as without even noticing, you could be over-consuming it and therefore not getting the fat loss you were hoping for. The remainder of your calories comes from carbohydrates, this being carbs, sugars, and dietary fiber. It's important to realize that the human body performs at its best when it's given sufficient carbs, and the science is very clear on this. So at OA, we are not advocates of low-carb dieting for the vast majority of people. You have a link to a method for calculating your calories and macros, but the basic idea is this. We use your weight and establish your activity levels to work out what your maintenance calories are, that being how many calories you need to keep your weight as it is. From there, we basically either add or subtract a percentage depending on your goal. Want to lose weight? We take away calories. Want to add muscle? We add calories. So now you have a starting point. From here, we monitor how your body responds to these targets and adjust as necessary. Taking your weight, progress photos, and circumference measurements is the system we use for this at OA. We encourage you to do this once a week, while bearing in mind that longer term trends are what we're really interested in, month to month rather than week to week. It's also important to monitor hunger and energy levels, as excessive hunger and low energy could be a sign that your calories are set too low. Now, in the real world, this process of tracking calories and macros is a skill that needs to be developed. It takes a little time to get right, and indeed at the start it's common for tracking accuracy to be a little off. People tend to underestimate the quantities they're consuming, especially of fat. This is something to be aware of because even underestimating by just 200 calories per day is very significant. Over 10 days, this adds up to 2,000 calories. Ultimately, if you're not losing fat, you are not in a calorie deficit. So if you think this is happening despite hitting your numbers, the first thing to really work on is your tracking accuracy. If after thoroughly examining this, you're still not losing weight, then unfortunately, this does mean that you will have to cut some more calories. Now, that said, for most people, it's just a case of getting the accuracy up to speed. Lastly, a little word on real-world application and strategy. When tracking calories and macros, I always recommend keeping an eye on 7-day averages. This is because people tend to overconsume at the weekend. If they are hitting their targets 5 or even 6 days a week, just one day of excessively relaxed eating can be enough to scupper fat loss. And that can be highly frustrating and demotivating if you work so hard the rest of the week to get it right. Using a 7-day approach will stop this from happening. You'll be able to factor in foods that you enjoy too, say chocolate, ice cream, burgers, chips, and even have a drink, but crucially the amounts you consume will be under control. It's possible to make some of these foods fit into your numbers, and if you do, you're onto a winner because you will have the best of both worlds, making amazing changes to your body and enjoying the foods you like and your social life. Okay, that's the first part in this series. If you have any questions, please comment or contact me directly at wolfpack@operation-alpha.com. I'm always happy to help and I certainly welcome your feedback. Bye for now.